It wasn't until I turned 60 that I discovered the son I had raised for 40 years wasn't my biological child. I donated all my property and died with my eyes unclosed. But when I opened them again, I was back in 1980. And my mother-in-law was pointing at my nose and cursing. If you can't come up with the 3 turning items, 1 sound item, and 32 legs, don't even think about marrying my daughter, you peasant. I laughed, turned around with my 28-inch bicycle, and walked away. I'm not wearing this green hat anymore. A second ago, I was still lying in a hospital bed, hating myself for turning my whole life into a joke. The next second, I was holding a brand new 28-inch bicycle, and in front of me stood a scrawny woman with her hands on her hips, cursing in the street. It wasn't easy for my family to raise a daughter. She's an announcer at Hongqing Commune. Do you think 1 bicycle is enough for you, Zhao Guoqing, to marry my daughter? Lu Shuzhen's spit flew everywhere. That floral indietacrin shirt wrapped around her stick-like body, and her ugly expression was exactly the same as in my memory. My head buzzed. I knew this scene all too well, 1980, when I came to the Chun family to deliver the betrothal gifts. In my previous life, it was because of this very day that my family scraped together every last penny to marry Chen Furong into the family. And what was the result? Our whole family paid with their lives. My eldest sister took all the money she'd saved for her child's medical treatment and gave it to me to get a wife. Guoqing was left brain damaged from the fever. My eldest brother-in-law fought with my sister every day, and in the end my sister drank pesticide. My second sister secretly took money from her husband's family to help me make up the betrothal gifts. When she went back, she was almost driven to hang herself by her mother-in-law, lost her 3-month pregnancy, never conceived again for the rest of her life, and grew old, lonely, and alone. My mother went back to her maiden home, cowed out and knelt, and even borrowed my grandmother's coffin money. Before Grandma died, she said not to repay the money, but from then on my uncle's family cut ties with us and never had anything to do with us again. Our family gathered the 3 turning items, 1 sound item, and 32 legs. Chen Furong did enter our home, but all the dowry stayed at her parents' house to help her younger brother get a wife. I was buried in debt and had no money to repair the old house. That winter, during a blizzard, the earthen wall collapsed and crushed my only younger sister to death. Later I had money, but life was still full of constant quarrels. Thinking of the child, I stubbornly refused to divorce no matter what. It wasn't until I was old that I found out my son Baozhu wasn't mine at all. My whole life was one enormous joke. Now I've been reborn. Today, at this very moment when her mother is making outrageous demands. Lu Shuzhen was still shouting there. If you can't come up with the 3 turning items, 1 sound item, and 32 legs, then get lost. My daughter has a state job. She could marry a college student. You're just a dirt-legged peasant from Chuyang Brigade, a toad lusting after swan meat. Bah! She spat at me. I didn't dodge. I looked at her coldly. In my previous life, I was spineless. For the sake of marrying an announcer with an iron rice bowl, I lived a lifetime of humiliation. Now that I think about it, Chen Furong was already carrying someone else's child before she even married into the family, and gave birth at 7 or 8 months, lying to me that it was premature. My mother and I even searched the whole village for old hens and brown sugar to nurse her through her confinement. Terrified, she'd damage her health. When you marry a wife, you should marry for virtue. I stared at Lu Shuzhen and said, word by word, it's not that I can't afford a wife. It's that your daughter isn't worthy. Isn't worthy? Lu Shuzhen was like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. Who isn't worthy? My Furong would have more than enough to marry a college student. A pauper like you is destined to be a bachelor your whole life. Don't worry. I, Zhao Guoqing, not only won't stay a bachelor, but will definitely marry a wife 100 times better than Chen Furong in the future. Just don't regret it. Tell your daughter not to shamelessly come looking for me again. With that, I turned my bicycle around and left. There was still meat, brown sugar, and fabric strapped to the back seat of my bike. Behind me, Lu Shuzhen stamped her feet and cursed. Get out! Get out! Get out! Roll as far away as you can. Quite a few villagers had gathered around the courtyard to watch the commotion, each with their eyes wide open. A prospective son-in-law falling out with his mother-in-law on the spot was rarer than watching opera. I got on my bicycle and headed toward Chuyang Production Brigade, feeling indescribably exhilarated inside. Now that I've lived a second life, I'll collect every debt owed to my family one by one. There's no rush to deal with the Chen family. I need to protect my foolish loved ones first. In my previous life, my eldest sister and second sister came back to our parents' home today, and they surely secretly scraped together money for me again. My eldest sister's son, Guoqing, is running a fever right now, And just so I could get married, she wasn't even willing to go to the clinic. When I was almost at the village entrance, I stopped my bicycle and took a deep breath. The half-collapsed earthen wall around my house looked just the same as ever, and voices were coming from the courtyard. My eldest aunt had the sharpest eyes. She spotted the pork on the back seat of my bicycle at a glance and cried out happily, reaching out to take it away. The Chen family is so proper. They even sent a return gift. Don't touch it. The marriage is off. The moment I said it, there was a clang from the kitchen, and my mother Lu Jinfang's spatula fell to the ground. My mother rushed out, trembling all over. You stubborn ox. Why did a perfectly good marriage fall through? Are you trying to anger me to death? The way she looked, so disappointed that she wished I'd do better, was exactly the same as in my memory. I looked at my mother's full head of black hair, her back not yet bent, and my throat suddenly tightened. In my previous life, all my mother's hair later turned white, and she walked as if crawling on the ground, all to pay off my debts. Mom, Chen Forong's mother wants to add the 3 rounds and 1 sound, plus 32 legs. The courtyard fell silent instantly. My older sister Zhao Chunlan was holding Guoqing, and her face turned deathly pale. My second sister Zhao Xiaohao wasn't showing yet, but her complexion was waxy yellow, and her hand unconsciously covered her belly. My 13-year-old younger sister was skinny as a bean sprout, with sparse yellowish hair and clothes patched over patches. She had run out smiling to greet me, but the moment she heard this, her smile froze on her face. My eldest aunt was the first to explode. 3 rounds and 1 sound, plus 32 legs? That's selling a person. Why don't they just rob us? My mother's tears fell in streams. But we've already invited all the guests, and the wedding is set for the 8th day. If this falls through, where will our family's face go? As she spoke, she started rummaging through her pockets. Chunlan, Xiaohe, how much money do you have on you? My eldest and second sisters immediately started taking out money without a word. I will never forget those few crumpled bills for the rest of my life. They were their lifeblood. I pressed down on their hands at once. No one is taking out a cent. I'm not going through with this marriage. Eldest sister, is Guoqing running a fever again? Zhao Chunlan's eyes reddened. Guoqing, listen to me. Getting a wife is a major event. Guoqing is just a little unwell. He drank some herbal medicine. I didn't waste words with her. I dragged her and Guoqing onto the back seat of the bicycle and pedaled in a flash toward the commune clinic. On the way, eldest sister kept muttering, "You're my younger brother. I practically raised you from childhood. How could I not worry about you?" Eldest sister, Guoqing is your son, the one connected to you by blood. Once your younger brother gets married, he'll forget his sister. You need to live a good life with brother-in-law, understand? Eldest sister was stunned for quite a while, then gave my waist a hard pinch and laughed as she scolded me. When I got married, who was it that cried and insisted on marrying me as his wife? That was when I was little. I smiled. Chen Furong is not worthy of entering our family. When we got to the clinic, the doctor took one look at Guoqing and immediately scolded us harshly. The child's burning up like this, and you only brought him in now? Any later, and his brain would have been burned out. He'd be a fool for life. Zhao Chunlan's face turned pale with fright, and her lips trembled nonstop. In my previous life, Guoqing really had his brain damaged by the fever and became dull-witted and slow. And Big Sis's whole life was ruined. While she was flustered, I quietly went to pay the medical bill and held Guoqing while he got the injection. The child's fever went down, and he weakly called out that uncle was hungry, which made my heart ache terribly. On the way back, Zhao Chunlan tried to stuff a thick wad of money into my hands again. To treat Guoqing, I pushed the money back. I have money. I'm not getting married anymore. Later I'll marry a college girl from the city as my wife. You stubborn ox, dreaming again. Big Sis sighed, but she didn't pressure me anymore. When we got home, what was bound to come still came. At the dinner table, the whole family was seated. Grandpa and Grandma, eldest uncle Zhao Fu, eldest aunt, my dad Zhao Gui, third uncle Zhao Quan, plus my mom and my 2 older sisters. A basin of cucumbers, a basin of pumpkin, a plate of chives, with corn mush and sweet potatoes, without the slightest trace of oil. As for the piece of pork I brought back, I didn't even smell a hint of it. Grandma, where's the meat I brought back? My grandma, old Madame May, glared. Sold it, 10 yuan, saving it for your wife. Eating meat, what a prodigal thing to do. I haven't seen a bit of meat in 5 years. Grandma, 5 years ago you already said you were saving money for me to get a wife. Today my mom was anxious like this, and my marriage costs 300 yuan, yet you said there's no money? I put down my chopsticks. You've been saving for me for 5 years. Exactly how much have you saved? What nonsense are you talking about? Wasn't that bicycle money? 170 yuan. Grandma, you only put up 30 yuan. The remaining 140 was borrowed by my mom on her knees from my uncles. I stared at her. 5 years, and you only saved 30 yuan for me? But just what my mom handed over to you last year alone was more than 30 yuan. The atmosphere at the table froze instantly. My mom raised her head and looked at my grandma. Third uncle's chopsticks stopped in midair. Eldest uncle Zhao Fu kept his head down, drinking his mush and pretending not to hear. My grandma's face flushed red, and she slammed her chopsticks on the table with a smack. You little bastard, your wings have hardened, have they? What in this family doesn't cost money to eat and wear? Didn't your schooling cost money? Doesn't supporting your parents in old age cost money? Is it easy for me to save a little money? Grandma, you know perfectly well where the money went. My cousin Zhao Guoqing went to college. You must have subsidized him quite a bit, right? As soon as I said that, eldest aunt immediately blew up. What are you saying? Guoqing going to college was paid for by the state. What does that have to do with us? I sneered, really? Then when brother Guoqing comes back for the new year this year, Grandma, don't secretly stuff him 300 yuan. My grandma's expression changed abruptly, and she grabbed the bowl at hand and hurled it at me. Just as Zhao Guoqing finished speaking, he saw something flying toward his face. Is that any way to talk to your grandma? You little bastard, you've really gotten bolder and bolder. The one speaking was Zhao Guoqing's father, Zhao Guoqing. But what flew toward Zhao Guoqing's face was an old perpetual calendar. This perpetual calendar wasn't thick, but it was enough to prop up the table. I'm telling the truth. Such a big piece of pork. Now the meat is gone. And the money is gone too? The money for buying that pork in the first place was borrowed by my mom from Grandma's family. Grandma, you have to pay my mom back that money. Zhao Guoqing did not yield an inch, his eyes fixed directly on old Madame May. Didn't you hear? I'm saving it for you to get a wife. Naturally, old Madame May couldn't bear to take out money once it was in her hands. But Zhao Guoqing was stubborn and directly threw out one stiff sentence. The marriage arrangement has fallen through, so the money from selling the pork has to be returned to my maternal grandmother. Old Madame May cursed and grumbled, naturally unwilling, and Zhao Guoqing also kept calling Zhao Guoqing a little bastard. Uncle and aunt lowered their heads and hurriedly ate the food. Eldest sister Chunlan and Xia He looked anxious and could only feed Guoqing some corn mush. Lu Zhenfang could only keep sighing. Over there, third uncle and third aunt were like two transparent people, just keeping their heads down and eating. When such a big family ate together, people like Chunlan, Xia He, and Lu Zhenfang weren't even qualified to sit at the table. Each person could only hold a bowl of corn mush with just a tiny bit of greens on top. There weren't many stools in the room either, so they could only squat in the corner to eat. Whether it was enough or not, this was all there was. Stop arguing. Can't you give us a little peace of mind and say a few less words? Give this money to Guoqing's mother and let her scrape together a bit more money, so this granddaughter-in-law can still be married into the family. Let her properly keep Guoqing in line. This stubborn ox. What the hell? In the end, old man Zhao still stepped in to smooth things over. Grandma May unwillingly gave the money to Lu Zhenfang and even told her to think of a way to scrape together more money so that Zhao Guoqing could marry Chen Furong back home. But Zhao Guoqing couldn't be bothered to say anything more. He just lowered his head and gulped down the bowl of corn mush in his hands, so thin it was clear enough to see his reflection in. His stomach still felt empty. Looking again at the table, the 3 vegetable basins were already completely clean, and even the corn mush in the pot had been scraped clean by others. There wasn't even a bit of pot rinsing water left. In his previous life, eating from the communal pot with Grandma May, he had never had a single full meal. But when New Year came around, Grandma May could still stuff several hundred yuan into Zhao Guoqing's hand. The family really had to split up. That afternoon, Zhao Guoqing returned to his room and lay there in a daze. The 3 Zhao brothers had not yet divided the household, and the main house had 4 big tiled rooms. Old man Zhao and Grandma May shared one large room. One room had a table in it and served as the dining area. Of the other 2 rooms, the eldest, Zhao Fu, occupied one, and the eldest son's son, Zhao Guoqing, had half a room, while his daughter Zhao Qiuju lived in the other half. Then on the east and west sides were 2 side rooms each. On the east side, Zhao Guo's family also had 2 rooms, and on the west side, Zhao Shun likewise had 2. At first glance, among old man Zhao's 3 sons, each son's family had 2 rooms, and it seemed fair and just, with no one able to find fault. The eldest family's son Guoqing had gone away to school, leaving half a room vacant, and the daughter could also have half a room. And because the main rooms were all spacious and bright, it meant that 4 or 5 people were living in 4 large tiled rooms. so the living conditions spoke for themselves. The third son's family had only one daughter, Zhao Dongmei, so one of their two side rooms still had half left over for storing odds and ends. Poor Zhao Guo's family. Although the two older sisters were already married off, there was still Zhao Guoqing, a younger brother Zhao Yuqing, little sister Zhao Dongxue, plus Zhao Fu and his wife. That meant a family of 5 squeezed into 2 not-so-spacious side rooms. Previously, Zhao Guoqing and Zhao Yuqing lived together, while Zhao Dongxue had half a room to herself. When the married sisters came back, they would squeeze in with her. In his previous life, when Zhao Guoqing got married, Zhao Yuqing naturally couldn't keep sharing a room with his older brother, so he could only sleep in the woodshed. But in his previous life, the woodshed was drafty, and Zhao Yuqing fell ill, so he slept in his younger sister Zhao Dongxue's room. Then Lu Zhenfang had her daughter Zhao Dongxue go stay overnight with Zhao Dongmei to warm her feet, but that night Zhao Dongxue didn't go over and slept in the woodshed instead. Who would have thought that in the middle of the night, after Zhao Dongxue fell asleep, the old woodshed, long in disrepair, suddenly collapsed and crushed 13-year-old Zhao Dongxue to death on the spot. This had always been a hurdle in Zhao Guoqing's heart that he could never get past in his previous life. Counting the days, it would happen this very winter. So the house had to be repaired before the new year. That way, at least his little sister wouldn't be crushed to death by a collapsing house. But before repairing the house, he definitely couldn't marry Chen Furong. Not only could he not marry her, he also had to find a way to get the Zhao family to split up. Otherwise, the family wouldn't even be able to count on eating a full meal. And he could forget all the more about marrying a good wife. Besides, he'd already boasted that he was going to marry a female college student from the city. Fortunately, in the next year or two, the countryside was about to be reformed with farmland allocated to individual households, and gradually the market economy would arrive. When that time came, opportunities would be everywhere, and it would be easy to go into the city too. By then, marrying a wife he liked would surely be easy too. Gurgle, 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 gurgle. Suddenly, a burst of stomach growling made Zhao Guoqing snap back to his senses. So hungry. At noon he'd only had that little bit of corn mush, and there was no telling when dinner would be. And when it came, it would just be another bowl of corn mush, enough to leave a person panicky with hunger meal after meal. Being awakened by hunger in the middle of the night was no pleasant feeling. Zhao Guoqing immediately climbed out of bed, wondering where he could get something to eat. There was a river by Choyang village, and if one was diligent enough, one could catch quite a lot of fish and shrimp. It was just that these things used a lot of oil, and every time fish and shrimp were brought back, old Madame May would always scold them. And besides, when fish was eaten with corn mush, there was always a fishy smell, and the Zhao family didn't really like it. So Zhao Guoqing planned to go up the mountain, set some traps in the hills, and find a way to get some game for a change of taste. Besides, he also wanted to make some money. Since he had a bicycle, it was convenient whether he went to the commune or to the county town, so he should hurry and earn back the money for this bicycle. Then split off from the family and build a big house, and when he met a suitable girl, marry a wife he liked. That way, this life wouldn't have been lived in vain. Thinking of this, Zhao Guoqing headed toward the back mountain. While over there Lu Zhenfang and Zhao Guo were still discussing whether they really couldn't afford this marriage and what they were going to do about the money. 3 turns, 1 sound, and 32 legs. But that girl Chen Furong really was quite good. Not only did she have a job, she liked Guoqing too. If they could marry her into the family, as long as she treated Guoqing a little better, and the young couple lived their life well together, then someone would be there to keep Guoqing's stubborn temper in check. And as his mother, she could finally breathe a sigh of relief. And at this time, at the Chen family, Chen Furong darkened her face and gave her mother Lu Shufang attitude. She also blurted out that her belly could no longer be concealed, and those words gave Lu Shufang quite a fright. This, whose is it? What are we going to do? Don't worry about whose it is, but right now I can't find anyone more suitable than Zhao Guoqing, and my belly can't wait any longer, so no matter what method I use, I must marry Zhao Guoqing. Chen Furong gritted her teeth. In times like these, if people found out that an unmarried girl like her had gotten pregnant before marriage, let alone losing her job, the gossip alone would drown her. So marrying Zhao Guoqing was her life-saving straw. She couldn't let go of it. Zhao Guoqing took some iron wire and wooden boards from home, made some animal traps for catching rabbits, and planned to make a trip into the mountains. Behind Chaoyang Brigade were the Great Mountains, but if he wanted to get prey, he had to go farther inside. Of course, the deeper into the mountains he went, the more dangerous it became, because there were wolves and wild boars in these mountains. And if he really ran into them, it could cost him his life. And heading into the mountains from Choyang Brigade, several of the peaks were well known, including Longjin Mountain and Ermiai Mountain. It was said these mountain names came from the women generals of the Yang family in the Song dynasty who had once camped there. All were old forests with towering, precipitous mountains. There were many wild rabbits and pheasants here, all kinds of mushrooms and wild fruits in the mountains, along with quite a few wild medicinal herbs as well. Zhao Guoqing's feet stepped on the thick layer of pine needles and decayed leaves, making a rustling sound. The air here was really good. Zhao Guoqing began setting those animal traps. These things couldn't just be placed randomly. You had to check whether there were rabbit or wild animal droppings on the ground. And when placing them, you also had to be selective. They couldn't be set on paths where people walked. Marks had to be made as well, otherwise it would be very easy to injure someone. Once an animal trap hurt a person. In serious cases, the wound could get infected and leave a disability. In milder cases, the injury could still leave someone unable to get out of bed for days. So when the hunters of Chaoyang Brigade set animal traps, they made clear markers, and the villagers generally all knew about them. Zhao Guoqing set several traps in a row, then planned to go a little farther into the mountains. Because he remembered that in his previous life, someone near Ermiai Mountain had found patches of wild bamboo fungus, morels, and gastrodia. He wanted to look for them too. If he could find these things, he could ride his bicycle to the county medicinal herb purchasing station to sell them and save up a little money. At the very least, it could solve the problem of going hungry and the embarrassment of having no money. On the way into the mountains, Zhao Guoqing didn't stay idle either. Whenever he came across mushrooms, he quickly picked them up. These could be dried and stored away, then taken out when there were no vegetables at home. Zhao Guoqing also picked half a basket of wild celery and dug out a nest of bird eggs. With these gains, he was in an excellent mood and began humming a tune softly. But as he walked, he suddenly heard a startled cry, and he stopped in his tracks at once. When Zhao Guoqing ran to where the cry had come from, he discovered it was two educated young women from the village. Over the years, quite a few educated youths had been sent down to Choyang Brigade, both men and women. Although starting the year before last, some educated youths had wanted to take the college entrance exam and return to the city, there were still quite a few who remained in the village. Like the two girls before him, they were the two educated young women of Chaoyang Brigade. One was named Lu Yuqing, and the other Xiao Ruolin. Both looked 18 or 19. Lu Yuqing was a city girl, and the year before last, she had been assigned to the educated youth point of Chaoyang Brigade. She usually wore her hair short, had an oval face, and a large frame. Her features were very handsome, making her one of the beauties of the educated youth point. The other beauty at the educated youth point was Xiao Ruolin. It was said that this girl was from the north. Her skin was especially fair, and her eyebrows were so thick they looked as if they had been painted on. But this girl was somewhat thin and frail, always wearing loose, baggy clothes, which made her look a bit delicate and weak. However, Zhao Guoqing knew that this girl, though she looked frail and unremarkable, had a tough character and could endure hardship. In his previous life, both she and Lu Yuqing were admitted to university and left Chaoyang Brigade. It became quite a well-known story here. As for Lu Yuqing back then, after being admitted to university, she worked in the city and later married his elder brother Zhao Guoqing, bearing him a son and a daughter. But the two of them didn't get along very well either. No one knew why, but they were always arguing. Yet Zhao Guoqing refused to divorce her. The two of them bickered their whole lives. It seemed that neither of the two brothers had a very good marriage. "What's wrong with you?" "Her leg." Yuqing's leg got caught in an animal trap. "We wanted to pick some mushrooms and dig some wild vegetables, and didn't expect there would be an animal trap here. Fortunately, I've already taken the trap off." The one caught in the animal trap was Lu Yuqing. At this moment, she was enduring the pain with a pale face, constantly crying out in pain, while the cuff of her pants had already been stained red with blood. The animal trap had been thrown on the ground. Xiao Ruolin beside her had actually already removed it. Zhao Guoqing was somewhat surprised. This Xiao Ruolin was pretty clever. Once someone stepped on an animal trap, it took a certain knack and skill to remove it. An ordinary young woman would really be at a loss and not know what to do. She actually helped Lu Yuqing remove the trap. Her leg will probably need medicine. "Wait here, I'll get some herbs to stop the bleeding, otherwise she won't be able to get down the mountain." Zhao Guoqing saw that Lu Yuqing's pant leg had been stained red, so the injury was definitely serious. Fortunately, there were plenty of hemostatic herbs on the mountain, and he quickly found one by the rock face. Scrape off the thick layer of powder from the underside of the leaves of that herb, then sprinkle it on Lu Yuqing's calf. He also picked quite a bit more of the herb for her to take along. Xia Rulin over there wasn't idle either. She quickly found Lu Yuqing a wooden stick a little thinner than a wrist, planning to let her use it as a crutch later. This way, Zhao Guoqing wouldn't have to carry Lu Yuqing down the mountain. Thank you, Rulin, you're really smart. When Lu Yuqing saw that crutch, tears fell from her eyes. Deep down, she had been worried all along about how she could go back with Xia Rulin with her leg injured. When she ran into Zhao Guoqing, she was both startled and delighted. Delighted because Zhao Guoqing could help her get down the mountain. Startled because this absolutely could not be known by the other people in the village. These days, if some man carried a woman down the mountain, that woman's reputation might well be ruined. She still had her heart set on getting into college and then returning to the city. Educated youth Xia, support educated youth Lu. I'll carry your things for you. Next time, you must be more careful. There are many animal traps in these mountains, and generally there are markings beside them. You need to look carefully. As Zhao Guoqing took the two educated youth's baskets, he explained to them the markings made beside these animal traps. The unmarried men in the village liked to hang around the educated youth residents whenever they had nothing to do, especially going over to chat up those female educated youths, sometimes practically wishing they could stick to them like a plaster. But Zhao Guoqing was open and poised, and both female educated youths nodded as they watched him. Sure enough, being around someone handsome feels very comfortable. The educated youth residence was relatively remote, and the two female educated youths were living off by themselves. When Zhao Guoqing escorted them back, he was fairly lucky and didn't run into anyone else. It was just that by the time they got home, it was almost dark. Over there, Lu Yuqing kept thanking him and proactively asked Zhao Guoqing to stay for a meal, saying she still had quite a lot of rice, and telling Xia Rulin to hurry and cook something for him. But Xia Rulin was so flustered when cooking that Zhao Guoqing, who had already been a little hungry, really couldn't hold back anymore. Forget it, I'll do it. I still have some wild vegetables and bird eggs over there. Just right to take out and stir-fry a couple of dishes. This time you treat me. Next time, I'll treat you. Thinking of the corn mush they had at noon. At this moment, seeing the white rice, Zhao Guoqing really couldn't walk away either, so he could only promise that next time, if he had something good to eat, he'd treat them in return. Zhao Guoqing washed the wild celery clean, cracked the bird eggs and beat them well, then washed the mushrooms clean, cut them into pieces, and blanched them. He also chopped the wild vegetables and blanched them, then minced the garlic cloves and mixed them with the wild vegetables as a cold dish. After frying the bird eggs until golden in the pan, he added the crisp wild celery and stir-fried it. The golden bird eggs and emerald green celery, once stir-fried and served out, left both Lu Yuqing and Xia Rulin stunned. Could it be that a man as handsome as Zhao Guoqing could actually cook dishes that looked appetizing at a glance? After all, among the grown men of Chaiyang Brigade, there really weren't many who could cook, were there? The mushrooms were stir-fried directly in lard, and at the end a bit of chopped scallion was sprinkled on top. The aroma came wafting right up, and when these three dishes were set on the table, the eyes of the two female educated youths lit up. This is just too delicious. It's not like I haven't eaten mushrooms before, but mushrooms this fragrant. This is truly my first time. The mushrooms are incomparably tender and silky, simply even tastier than meat. And that wild celery stir-fried with bird eggs, so fragrant. Even the cold-tossed wild greens didn't have the bitter taste I imagined. On the contrary, they had a garlicky aroma and were especially refreshing, the kind of flavor you can't forget after one bite. So much so that Lu Yuqing let out a cry of surprise. Oh my heavens, you really wouldn't know until you taste it. Zhao Guoqing, you have this kind of skill too? You're a god of cooking. How did we never know before? At this moment, Lu Yuqing seemed to have forgotten the pain in her leg. She and Xia Rulin were inseparable, even sleeping in the same room. But neither of them could cook. Fortunately, Lu Yuqing's family had always sent her money and food coupons and such, so they could at least eat their fill. But eating well, they just didn't have the skills. Neither Xia Rulin nor I can do it. I learned from my mom. My mom is quite good at cooking. Besides, although we all knew each other before, we were only nodding acquaintances. And isn't this the first time we've gathered around the same table to eat? At Chaiyang Brigade, the educated youths were known by nearly every villager. But these educated youths all cooked for themselves at the educated youth point. If this hadn't happened by chance today, Zhao Guoqing would have been too embarrassed to eat with them. But with just this little display of his skills, he left the two female educated youths astonished beyond words, which Zhao Guoqing himself hadn't expected. In fact, his cooking skills were entirely because in his previous life, Chen Furong had been unwilling to cook, and later, because he had many social engagements, He ate out often and saw many kinds of dishes. Sometimes, when he particularly enjoyed a meal, he would call the chef out and ask a few questions. Over time, Zhao Guoqing became able to cook a few signature dishes at home too. He never expected Xiao Rulin and Lu Yuqing would be so impressed they nearly swallowed their tongues. They kept saying over and over, "So fragrant, so delicious," while Zhao Guoqing shoveled down big mouthfuls of rice. White rice really tastes far better than corn mush. When I have money later, I'll have to thank them for this meal too. It really let Zhao Guoqing have a full meal. After dark, Zhao Guoqing left with a slight blush and said that he would bring them some meal tickets later. But the two educated youths who watched Zhao Guoqing leave huddled together and chattered away. "Oh dear, what are we going to do about meals from now on?" You really couldn't tell. Zhao Guoqing isn't just handsome. His cooking skills are beyond reproach. The dishes he makes are even tastier than my mom's. I really didn't expect it. You truly can't judge a person by appearances. We really had a treat today. Over there, after Zhao Guoqing had eaten his fill, he felt strength all over his body, and even his steps had more vigor. Food is the staff of life. He absolutely had to solve the problem of eating enough. Otherwise, with his build and height, if he didn't eat his fill for 3 days, his feet would start slipping and he wouldn't be able to walk steadily. When Zhao Guoqing got back, the family still hadn't started dinner, but everyone was beaming with joy, smiles all over their faces. When they saw him return, his second elder sister hurried over first. "Guoqing, why are you only just back?" Chen Furong's eldest aunt came by and said Chen Furong had gotten into a quarrel with her family. She said she didn't want the 3 turning items, 1 sound item, and 32 legs anymore, and instead wanted 100 yuan in cash delivered tomorrow, with the wedding the day after tomorrow. It turned out that after Zhao Guoqing went out, Chen Furong's eldest aunt came to deliver the message. She said the marriage was still on, and the Chen family didn't want the 3 turning items, 1 sound item, and 32 legs. They just wanted to proceed directly with the wedding the day after tomorrow. For the Zhao family, that was wonderful news. During dinner that evening, the whole family was discussing how tomorrow they would have Zhao Guoqing go buy some pork and the brown sugar they had brought back today. And cloth too. The family is trying to find a way to borrow some money. The day after tomorrow, he'll go with his wife Chen Furong to get the marriage certificate. And when they come back, they can just put on a few tables of wedding banquets. That girl Furong really is sensible. In the future, she'll definitely be a good daughter-in-law for our family. Our family's stubborn ox really is a fool with a fool's luck, meeting such a thoughtful good wife-to-be. Lu Zhenfang was all smiles, and the more she thought about it, the more she felt Chen Furong was a good girl. What a fine girl. She wouldn't let the family ask for the 3 turns, 1 sound, and 32 legs, and was willing to marry Zhao Guoqing herself. Now that's the kind of good wife who knows how to live. In the future, she'll give their family a big fat boy, and she might even be able to rein in her son's stubborn temper. Right. Tomorrow we'll go deliver the betrothal gifts again. That girl Chen Furong earns 28 yuan a month. Old Madame Mei, sitting in the seat of honor, now had a smile on her face as well. 28 yuan a month. When the time comes, she can help support them too. And the new bride will also have all kinds of grain coupons, cloth coupons, and meat coupons. When the time comes, she'll hand them all over, and their family will even be able to occasionally eat white rice porridge. Zhao Guoqing raised his head and glanced at the people at the table. His mother didn't know Chen Furong's true nature and was single-mindedly thinking of finding him a good wife, while old Madame Mei had set her sights on the girl's 28 yuan salary. Unfortunately, in his previous life, even after Chen Furong married him, she still took that money back to her natal family, so that after the marriage old Madame Mei quarreled with her every day until the whole household was in chaos. Because that Chen Furong was nothing like his own mother, who was so honest. A woman who dared to get pregnant before marriage in this era, and even plotted against him, keeping his whole family in the dark for a lifetime. How could she possibly be someone easy to deal with? I already told Lu Shufang to tell their family not to regret it later, and to tell Chen Furong not to shamelessly pester me. Can it be that her family can't understand plain human speech? I'm not marrying a woman like that. Whoever wants to marry her can marry her. As soon as Zhao Guoqing said this, the whole family, who had been eating, was completely stunned. All of them stared at him in unison, their faces full of disbelief. This child has gone mad. He doesn't even want such a good wife? What a sin! What is he trying to do? You stubborn ox, how can you do this? Are you trying to stay a bachelor and deliberately anger me to death? Lu Shufang may be unreasonable, but that girl Chen Furong is still good. What are you trying to do? Lu Zhenfang was the first to explode. How could her son be so stubborn? What sin from a past life had she committed to give birth to such a stubborn son? I said it already. I'm not marrying Chen Furong. Whoever wants to marry her can marry her. Anyway, I'm not. Zhao Guoqing picked up a bowl of corn mush and left. He wasn't the kind of person to let others push him around. And he definitely would not marry Chen Furong. You bastard, tomorrow we're going to deliver the betrothal gifts. Chen Furong is absolutely going to enter the Zhao family's door. Suddenly, old man Zhao, sitting in the seat of honor, flew into a rage. Zhao Guoqing glanced at his grandfather, old man Zhao, sitting at the very top as the head of the household. Same as before, I'm not marrying her. Whoever wants to marry her can marry her. Bastard, if you don't marry her, then I won't acknowledge you as my grandson anymore. She earns 28 yuan a month, doesn't want the 3 turns, 1 sound, and 32 legs, and only asks for a 100 yuan betrothal gift. And she's practically throwing herself at you to marry you. What are you still picking at? The key is that this girl has an iron rice bowl and earns 28 yuan a month. Old man Zhao was furious. He simply couldn't understand Zhao Guoqing's way of thinking. A woman like that isn't worthy. I said I'm not marrying her. If you refuse to acknowledge me, there's nothing I can do about it. Then let's split the family. Zhao Guoqing had nothing to fear. Old man Zhao's threat had no effect on him at all. In the end, all she could do was angrily curse at him. Stubborn ox, truly a stubborn ox. How did I give birth to such a thing? Old Madame Mei was so furious that she scolded her daughter-in-law Lu Zhenfang. Lu Zhenfang also felt miserable deep down at this moment, wiping away tears non-stop, yet there was nothing she could do. Her son Zhao Guoqing had been stubborn since childhood. If he weren't so stubborn, he would have gone to the city's song and dance troupe long ago, drawing a salary and eating from the state's rice bowl. Sigh, she raised him herself, so there was nothing to be done. No matter how the family cursed or made a fuss, no one could force Zhao Guoqing to go to Chen Furong's home tomorrow to deliver the betrothal gift. The family broke up unhappily, and no one even ate well. But even if they had eaten well, with only 1 bowl each of thin corn gruel clear enough to reflect a person's face, no one could get full. That night, Lu Zhenfang tossed and turned, unable to sleep, thinking, what if tomorrow she had her younger son take the betrothal gift to the Chen family instead? At least, the day after tomorrow, they could get this marriage settled. But with Guoqing's stubborn temper, once he had made up his mind about something, not even 9 oxen could pull him back. If he was unwilling, no one could talk him into it. Sigh, she was worried sick. What was she supposed to do? That night Lu Zhenfang tossed and turned and couldn't sleep, but Zhao Guoqing slept quite well. He had secretly put aside that bowl of corn gruel from dinner, and at night he took it out and split it between his little brother and little sister. He also asked about his eldest sister and second sister, and it turned out they had both gone back that evening. Only the eldest sister had to go to the township tomorrow to give Guoqing an injection, while the second sister had felt a bit unwell and gone back first, saying that if Zhao Guoqing was getting married the day after tomorrow, she would still come. Big brother, we're not hungry. You didn't eat anything tonight, so you should eat it. His little sister, with her frail little body, hadn't eaten her fill that night either. At this moment, just looking at the corn gruel made her drool, but she still pushed the bowl of corn gruel toward her elder brother. Silly girl, your brother ate a little outside tonight, and deliberately saved this bowl for you and little brother to eat. You're both still growing, so hurry up and split it. Zhao Guoqing stroked his little sister's thin yellowish hair. He let out a sigh. In fact, his younger brother was already 15, but so skinny he was like a bamboo pole. This was exactly the age when a half-grown boy could eat his father poor, yet with only 1 bowl of corn gruel per meal. He himself could barely stand the hunger, let alone his younger brother. All day long, his brother was so hungry his eyes practically glowed green. No, brother, you eat. I'm not hungry. Zhao Guoqing deliberately turned his head to one side, refusing to look at the bowl of corn gruel, but his constantly swallowing Adam's apple showed that he must be starving too at this moment. You brat, trying that trick with your brother? Here, half a bowl each. Hurry up, eat it, and go to sleep. When you two have time, go catch some fish, shrimp, eels, river snails, whatever. You can fill your stomach a bit too. But Grandma doesn't like us catching fish and shrimp. She says it wastes oil and smells fishy. But I'll listen to Big Brother. Zhao Guoqing looked at the half bowl of corn gruel his elder brother handed him. Then seeing that his little sister also had half a bowl, a smile spread across his face. Big Brother was stubborn, all right, but he was truly good to him and little sister. He wouldn't even eat his own corn gruel, saving it for them instead. Zhao Guoqing called Zhao Guoqing over to sleep with him, with that extra half bowl of corn gruel in his stomach tonight. The hunger in his belly didn't feel quite so unbearable now, and he slept soundly. But Zhao Guoqing got up before dawn. Last night, he had set animal traps at the foot of the back hill. He had to go check them early. If there was anything good, he could take the opportunity to sell it in the township, and then he still had to hurry back for work, so he needed to be quick. Just as he was about to head out, he saw that the light was on in Uncle's room, and to make matters worse, waves of tempting aroma drifted over. It made Zhao Guoqing rise onto his tiptoes and sneak a couple of glances toward Uncle's side. One look and his face darkened. Uncle and Aunt were eating eggs, 3 each, and were even saying they should save 2 for their daughter Zhao Qiuju, since she hadn't eaten her fill that evening. Everyone else in the family was drinking corn mush, while Uncle's family was secretly eating eggs. Ha. They absolutely had to split up the family, or life would be impossible. Zhao Guoqing carried a torch. The family was too reluctant to use the flashlight, so they generally used a torch when going out. He went to the place where he had set the animal trap last night, and before he even got there, he heard movement. Goodness, had he really caught a rabbit? Zhao Guoqing was overjoyed. He hurried forward a few steps and soon saw that a plump rabbit was caught in the trap, dragging it around with a clattering noise when it saw him coming. Zhao Guoqing moved quickly, grabbing the rabbit by the ears at once, then using tree bark to tie up the live rabbit. Luckily, the rabbit's leg was badly injured, otherwise. Seeing how the rabbit looked ready to bite, Zhao Guoqing was even worried he might not be able to handle it. That night, Zhao Guoqing's luck was good. He caught 3 rabbits, 2 males and 1 female. And there was also a wild pheasant weighing 2 or 3 jing. His luck was really quite good. He quickly moved the trap to another spot. Because these wild animals were crafty too, the trap's location had to be changed often and placed where these wild animals came out to forage at night. Otherwise, it would all be for nothing. And it was best to put some bait in front of the trap, or that wouldn't work either. After taking care of all this, it still wasn't daylight. Zhao Guoqing ran back excitedly. But on the way, he realized that the first rabbit wasn't plump by nature. It was a female rabbit, and it was probably carrying baby rabbits. So when he got back, he woke Zhao Guoqing and told him and little sister to apply some herbal medicine to the rabbit and make a bigger bamboo cage to keep it in. Raise it well, and before long there might be a whole litter of baby rabbits. Brother, you're amazing. Next time take me with you. I can keep you company, and I can work too. His little brother Zhao Guoqing was 3 years younger than him, but he was actually already 16. In the countryside, that counted as a grown young man. Fine, hurry up and make the bamboo cage. Make several more. And later, if there are any rabbits that don't die, we'll keep them all alive. No matter what, that's still meat to eat, right? Zhao Guoqing got his younger brother situated. Then, while the villagers were still not up, he used a snakeskin sack to pack up the remaining 2 rabbits and the wild pheasant, planning to ride his bicycle and quickly take them over to Hongxing Commune to sell. Then he would hurry back for work. He only hoped that this first secret sale of game would go smoothly. It was fortunate that Zhao Guoqing had a bicycle. Otherwise, even if he wanted to sneak off to the township before work, it would be too late relying only on his 2 legs to walk there. Hongxing Commune had both a supply and marketing cooperative and a purchasing station, and they both wanted these mountain products. It was just that the price was a bit low. The usual purchase price was 0.7 yuan per jing. But Zhao Guoqing knew that if these wild rabbits and wild pheasants were taken to the county town or sold to the right buyer, they could fetch 0.9 yuan per jing directly. If luck was good, even 1 yuan was possible. And as for that buyer, Zhao Guoqing, with memories from his previous life, really did know one. At this moment, the sky was only just beginning to lighten, and many households in Hongxing Commune still hadn't opened their doors, with only the occasional person hurrying out to empty a chamber pot. Relying on his memory, Zhao Guoqing soon arrived at a house by the river with many bamboo plants growing at the entrance. That household had opened the back door. It was also behind the bamboo grove, very well hidden, and ordinary people would never notice it. But Zhao Guoqing knew. He looked around to his left and right. After making sure no one noticed him, he immediately took out a straw hat and used it to cover his face a bit. Then he quickly went up and knocked on the door. Someone asked warily, "Who is it?" "Me, delivering goods." "From Zhao village." When a somewhat balding man in his 30s inside stuck his head out, he warily glanced behind Zhao Guoqing. Seeing that Zhao Guoqing was unfamiliar, he was about to close the courtyard gate. But Zhao Guoqing handed the snakeskin sack over to him and said in a lowered voice, "Brother Zhao, I'm from Zhao village. I got some mountain goods, introduced by a relative. Have a look and name a price." It was only 1980 then, just after the campaign against capitalism, and everywhere people were still cracking down on profiteering and speculation. In that environment, Anyone wanting to do a bit of business had to do it secretly, afraid of being caught. This brother Zhao usually bought some mountain goods, then transported them out, and brought back some daily necessities to sell. Going back and forth like that, he could make quite a bit of money. However, he was also very cautious, afraid of being caught for profiteering. Hearing Zhao Guoqing say this, and seeing that no one was indeed following him, the two tested each other a bit more. And then this brother Zhao bought all of Zhao Guoqing's things. After some bargaining, for 2 rabbits plus 1 pheasant, he paid 8 yuan and 4 mao. That was nearly 1 yuan more than the purchasing station offered. This delighted Zhao Guoqing, and he asked brother Zhao whether he bought Gastrodia alata, bamboo fungus, and morels as well. Yes, but only dried goods, not fresh ones. Gastrodia alata is 5 yuan per gene, bamboo fungus and morels are 3 yuan per gene, but it depends on the quality. Brother Zhao, bamboo fungus and morels are both good stuff. If I bring in a lot, you should at least raise the price a bit. These things aren't easy to get. Zhao Guoqing was handsome and neat-looking, with a pair of clear, bright eyes and a smile when he looked at people. As the saying goes, one does not strike a smiling face, so brother Zhao said with a chuckle, "If you have goods, bring them over. I guarantee I won't shortchange you. If there's a lot of this stuff, I'll add 5 mao more per gene for you. That should do, right?" "All right, then many thanks, brother Zhao." Zhao Guoqing put away the snakeskin sack and briskly left brother Zhao's house. When he went out, he also looked around. Seeing that no one had noticed, he quickly disappeared beyond the bamboo grove. Seeing that Zhao Guoqing was cautious and knew the ropes, brother Zhao felt relieved inside. With a little over 8 yuan in his pocket, Zhao Guoqing lingered in town for a while and went to the steam bun shop. Plain mantou were 7 fin each, and meat buns were 1 mao each, but smaller. Meat buns were definitely tastier, but he didn't have much money in hand, and even fewer grain coupons. Gritting his teeth, Zhao Guoqing hurriedly bought 20 mantou, spending 1 yuan and 4 mao, and also used some grain coupons. Eating corn mush every meal, he was practically starving to the point of rolling his eyes. So having these white flour mantou to fill his stomach was better than anything. He still had 7 yuan left. Zhao Guoqing saw youtiao being sold for 8 fin each and quickly bought 10, spending 8 mao. Buying pork required coupons, and he had no meat coupons, so he spent 1 yuan to buy 5 gene of unwanted meaty bones, planning to boil some soup for the family. Hadn't he seen how his younger brothers and sisters were each as skinny as bamboo poles? Now he had 5 yuan left, which Zhao Guoqing quickly hid on himself. Then he rode his bicycle back in a hurry. Fortunately, he was very fast. When he got home, he even deliberately looked around. And taking advantage of no one paying attention, he brought these things into his room. After thinking it over, he took 2 or 3 gene of bones and had Lu Jinfeng stew some wild greens, so at least there would be a little oil and nourishment. There were still some bones left, and he planned to take them back to his elder sister so she could make some soup for Guoqing to drink. Guoqing had only just recovered from his illness and was still taking medicine. Breakfast was still corn mush. When you ate this corn mush, it felt slippery all over the mouth, coarse and unpalatable. It was cooked so bland and watery that it could only barely fill the stomach and wasn't filling at all. Wang Chunhua, his eldest aunt who had eaten a few eggs last night, was feeling a bit disdainful of this corn mush now, and with a shift of her gaze, she fixed her eyes on Zhao Guoqing. "Guoqing, your bicycle was gone this morning, and you only came back at mealtime. Did you sleep on it all night and finally figure it out, and go deliver the betrothal gifts to the Qin family?" "No, I went to buy 2 gene of pork bones and had my mom cook some pumpkin. It's better than eating corn mush every meal." Zhao Guoqing replied flatly. "Ah, there's meat to eat? Mom, why don't we just have a solid meal today?" Wang Chunhua was secretly delighted. The moment she heard there would be meaty bones to eat, her face immediately lit up with joy. "Eat, eat, eat. All you know is eating. If you want solid food, then bring some rice from your mother's family." Old Madam May was a miserly sort and shot this eldest daughter-in-law a fierce glare, refusing to budge. "Mom, then how about some thin white rice porridge? I've had no strength to walk these past 2 days. I'm afraid my head will start hurting again and I won't be able to work." Zhao Fu was also the greedy sort. As for working, the work points he earned in the production team weren't even as many as old Madam May's, and he would claim headaches and pretend to be sick at the drop of a hat. Out of 30 days in a month, he'd ask for leave more than 10 days. But Zhao Fu was her own son, and she doted on him. "Fine, at noon we'll cook thin white rice porridge and stew pumpkin with the meaty bones. Cook more pumpkin so it'll last for 2 meals. The wives of the second and third sons had better stay sharp and not let anyone steal the meaty bones to eat." Old Madame Mei instructed Lu Zhenfang and the third daughter-in-law Chen Hongmei. In any case, the ones doing the housework were just the two of them. Although Zhao Guoqing had bought Bones back, whenever old Madame Mei thought of this stubborn grandson refusing to marry Chen Furong, she got angry inside and spent the whole time at home making barbed remarks. It drove Zhao Guoqing to hurry off to work, and when he left he took the remaining pork bones and Youqiao with him, planning to find time later to deliver them to his elder sister's home in the neighboring village. But when he went out, Zhao Guoqing secretly slipped a few steamed buns to his younger sister Zhao Dongxue. In Chaiyang village, the men earned more work points, and the work was more tiring. Today they were all clearing the irrigation channels and ditches. The women and the educated youth had it a bit easier, just weeding in the cornfields. The sun in May and June was still rather fierce, and the work was tiring. While Zhao Guoqing was working, some people from the same village mocked him. "Guoqing, you look so listless. What's up? Were you rolling in the hay with someone?" In the village haystacks. Those words made many married men smile knowingly. Zhao Guoqing recalled that when movies used to be shown in the village, it would be a bit cold in winter, and quite a few people would end up slipping into the haystacks. And as they stayed in there, some would end up making it happen in the haystacks. The parents on both sides didn't have much objection either. The man's side would buy some candy, some cigarettes and liquor, treat everyone to a meal, and buy the woman 2 sets of clothes and shoes, and the marriage would be settled. Then the man and woman would be together, have sons and daughters, and one child after another would be born. Life turned out pretty good too. Even if I wanted to roll in the hay, someone would have to be willing. Zhao Guoqing laughed it off with a joke. He was easygoing and sweet-talking, except that sometimes when his temper flared up, he could be very stubborn. In the village, he got along with people quite well. Guoqing is handsome. If it weren't for the fact that you're about to get married, there'd be a whole bunch of girls wanting to roll in the hay with you. "Oh my, your wife is here." Just then someone shouted. Zhao Guoqing looked up and saw Chen Furong pushing a bicycle and calling out to him from the edge of the field. Today Chen Furong was wearing a white Dacron shirt, black Dacron pants, plus a pair of leather shoes polished to a shine. She was also carrying an army green book bag with the words, "Serve the people," written on it. Dressed like this, it was no less than for a wedding. "I'm not going. That's not my wife." Zhao Guoqing was also a little surprised. This Chen Furong really was relentless. He hadn't gone to her house today. She had actually chased him all the way to the village fields. "Zhao Guoqing, why didn't you come to my house? Tomorrow is our big day, and I've even brought my household register. I've just been waiting for you." Chen Furong took the household register out of her book bag and waved it at Zhao Guoqing, anxious beyond measure. Yesterday, she had asked her eldest aunt to go to the Zhao family and put in a good word for her, and her aunt said everyone in the Zhao family was very pleased. It was just that Zhao Guoqing wasn't home at the time. She had been waiting at home since early morning for Zhao Guoqing to come bring the betrothal gifts, but after waiting and waiting, she still didn't see him. It was almost noon, and she simply couldn't sit still any longer, so she hurried to Chaiyang Brigade. Zhao Guoqing wasn't at home, so she came straight to the fields. As long as Zhao Guoqing nodded, even if there wasn't a penny of betrothal gift, she would put on a new outfit, take her household register, and marry Zhao Guoqing. Who wouldn't be happy to get a wife who worked as an announcer earning 28 yuan a month for free? She refused to believe that after she'd gone this far, Zhao Guoqing still wouldn't agree. The men in the field who had just been mulling over Zhao Guoqing's weak knees were now all grinning, and someone nudged him with an elbow, waggling his eyebrows at him. "Oh wow, kid, you've really got it made. This girl's come all the way to the fields to pressure you into marriage. Go on already. I'll help ask the team leader for leave in a bit. Hurry up and go get your marriage certificate. Don't keep the girl waiting too long." That's right. What a fine girl. I know this girl. She's the commune's announcer, with a salary. She makes 28 yuan a month, more than we do. Wow, Zhao Guoqing, this kid really is blessed, huh? Handsome and lucky too. The men working alongside Zhao Guoqing were all envious beyond words at this moment. They all shouted that Zhao Guoqing's luck was just too good. This girl had come right to the fields, holding a household register, wanting to get a marriage certificate with him. The key point was, this girl was pretty decent looking too, and she earned more than 20 yuan a month? How did something this good happen to Zhao Guoqing? Cut it out. I'm working. I'm not going. Whoever wants to go can go. All right. Chen Furong, the two of us are finished. Since your mother wants the 3 big-ticket items, 1 radio, and 32 legs, go find a man who can give you the 3 big-ticket items, 1 radio, and 32 legs. We're not suitable for each other. Our values don't match. Don't hold up my work. Just go. And stop pestering me from now on." At this moment, the men working with Zhao Guoqing all stopped and had been egging Zhao Guoqing on to go get the marriage certificate. Who would have thought Zhao Guoqing would say such things? Everyone was stunned, including Chen Furong. Sweat was beading on her forehead, and even her voice had changed. Zhao Guoqing. Isn't this all a misunderstanding? We're new youths of the new era. I don't want the 3 big-ticket items, 1 radio, and 32 legs. I've even brought the household register. We can get our marriage certificate and marry today. I only care about you as a person. By the time she said this, tears were already falling from Chen Furong's eyes. And the more she spoke, the sadder she became. She had already dressed up in brand new clothes, brought the household register, asked for not a penny, and come to Zhao Guoqing to get a marriage certificate, yet he still wasn't willing? At this time, all the men and women of Chuyang village were out working. When Chen Furong arrived, people had already noticed her. Those who knew were all saying she was Zhao Guoqing's girlfriend. This made Xia Ruolin, who was working with her head down, lift her head a little and look over there with interest. Thinking of the wild celery Zhao Guoqing had stir-fried yesterday in her heart, so crisp. Then she heard a few sisters-in-law from the village saying that Chen Furong was the commune's broadcaster and made 28 yuan a month. Now she was throwing herself at Zhao Guoqing, wanting to marry him. But Zhao Guoqing wasn't willing. It seemed they were saying Chen Furong's mother wanted the 3 turns, 1 sound, and 32 legs from him, and also demanded a 100 yuan betrothal gift, which made Zhao Guoqing furious. Now they don't want the betrothal gift anymore, and Zhao Guoqing still won't marry her. It upset Chen Furong so much that she kept crying. The brigade leader working alongside Zhao Guoqing and the others was called Zhao Shun. He was an uncle from Zhao Guoqing's own clan. Seeing that the people on the team had lost all interest in work because of Chen Furong's arrival and were all chattering over there, he really couldn't hold back anymore. So he also walked up and scolded Zhao Guoqing with a stern face. Guoqing, I've watched you grow up. How have you gotten stupider as you got older? Not wanting such a good wife? Just what kind do you want? Get up here right now and go with the girl to get the marriage certificate. When you have a big fat boy later, send your uncle some red eggs. Zhao Shun really was doing this for Zhao Guoqing's own good. He was thinking to himself, you silly boy, a wife is being delivered right to your door and you still don't want her? Is there something wrong with your head? Or maybe, seeing how handsome the young man is, he can't perform physically? Uncle Shunzi, stop talking. I have nothing to do with Chen Furong. I've said it already. If I won't marry, I won't marry. Why is she still clinging to me? How can there be such a shameless woman as you? Zhao Guoqing glanced at Chen Furong, who was crying so pitifully. His face was full of disgust. Thinking about his previous life, he had been deceived by Chen Furong. His whole life had truly been wasted. In this life, even if Zhao Guoqing stayed a bachelor forever, he would never want a woman like Chen Furong. Besides, he still wanted a delicate wife, children, and a warm calm, to live a beautiful life. You, Zhao Guoqing, you bully people. Chen Furong pointed at Zhao Guoqing, trembling all over with anger. In all her life, she had never been called shameless in front of so many people. Besides, her conditions were so good, 28 yuan a month, and she had even brought the household register. Yet Zhao Guoqing humiliated her like this. She really couldn't take it. Who knew that when Chen Furong said this, Zhao Guoqing's expression changed. So Chen Furong wanted to pin a big charge on him. In the countryside, if someone really bullied a woman, they could be arrested as a hooligan. This woman was really vicious. Who bullied you? We were together for only a little over a month. I only touched your hand once. I never touched you otherwise. So don't go splashing dirty water on me. Don't think I don't know. You want to bully an honest rural man like me. As Zhao Guoqing said this, his gaze stayed fixed on Chen Furong's belly. That look made Chen Furong's back turn cold and her face go pale. And no, how could Zhao Guoqing possibly know? Or had she just been too careless? Why hadn't she thought of sleeping with him once a few days ago? What was she supposed to do now? It had already been more than 2 months in her belly, and they had only known each other for a little over a month. That Zhao Guoqing seemed too dull. Even holding hands had been something she took the initiative in. You stubborn ox. You'll never get a wife in your whole life. Don't worry. I'll definitely marry a female college student from the city in the future. Better than you. Hearing Zhao Guoqing's words, Chen Furong's vision went black and she almost died of anger. In the end, she didn't dare make a scene and only left sobbing. Zhao Guoqing became famous once again. The last time he became famous was when he refused to go work in the county song and dance troupe, and his family called him a stubborn ox. This time, a girl with a work unit was practically forcing him into marriage, and he still wasn't willing. So people once again called him a stubborn ox. His one-track stubbornness was something everyone in the Chaoyang production team now remembered. As for what he said about wanting to marry a female college student from the city, people treated it as a joke and spread it around everywhere. Quite a few people shook their heads after hearing it. This stubborn ox really can't tell good from bad. He'll have plenty to suffer for in the future. Yesterday, Lu Yuqing hurt her leg, so she didn't go to work today. Bored at home, she was reading, and just when Zhao Guoqing came back, she told her about the scene she had seen in the team today. She told Lu Yuqing about it, since the matter had already spread throughout the entire Chaoyang production team. Lu Yuqing, resting at home, was the only one who still didn't know. This Zhao Guoqing is really stubborn. You really can't tell from his personality. But the dishes he makes are really delicious. At this moment, Lu Yuqing's face was full of surprise, but she was smiling. You really can't tell with him. The celery he cooked was so crisp and fragrant. Xia Rulin recalled it for a moment. If you put aside Zhao Guoqing's stubborn temper, just judging by his cooking skills alone, they were incredible. Even simple wild greens, he made them flavorful and unforgettable. Stop talking. The more you talk, the more my mouth waters. Oh, if only Zhao Guoqing were a girl. I'd definitely pull him over to our side and have him cook for us. I'm craving it to death. Lu Yuqing said somewhat exaggeratedly, making Xia Rulin beside her laugh at her nonstop. Over there, Zhao Guoqing couldn't care less about what others said about him. After getting rid of Chun Furong's pestering, he went to deliver some pork bones and youtiao and the like to his eldest sister's home. He also had his eldest sister carry Guosheng and take him for an injection. Guosheng's fever had already gone down, and he no longer looked sickly and sleepy. On the way back, he was so mischievous and kept calling out uncle. Seeing him like this made Zhao Guoqing think of when he would occasionally visit his eldest sister in his previous life. Guosheng would be drooling and unable even to recognize him clearly, while his eldest sister, with a head full of white hair, would sigh over and over. Guosheng's brain had been damaged by a fever when he was little, and his eldest sister had worried about him all her life. What's more, because his eldest brother-in-law resented that his eldest sister had taken the money for treating Guosheng and given it to him so he could marry a wife. He hated their whole family to the bone and ignored his eldest sister as well. In his previous life, his eldest sister had lived too miserably. Guosheng, you have to listen to your dad and mom. In a few days, uncle will bring you something tasty again. Uncle is so nice. Guosheng agreed happily, and that made Zhao Guoqing feel at ease from the bottom of his heart. After seeing his eldest sister and Guosheng off, Zhao Guoqing was getting ready to go back for a meal. But before he even entered the door, he heard yelling and cursing in the courtyard. That bastard thing. That little hussy not learning anything good, learning to steal food? A whole jar of meaty bones, and one piece is actually missing? It must have been Dongmei and Dongxue sneaking some again. The moment Zhao Guoqing entered, he heard old Madame Mei's strong, forceful scolding. There was also grumbling, saying that she had counted the bones today, and there had been 9 in total. But when she came back from the fields just now, she found one missing. At this moment, all the adults in the family had gone out to work. Only Dongxue and Dongmei were left at home. So it must have been them sneaking food. The 2 little girls were so anxious their faces were miserable, both saying they hadn't eaten any. Dongxue said she and her younger sister had gone to cut wild grass to feed the rabbits, and simply hadn't been at home at all. As she spoke, she also brought out the bamboo cage her second brother Zhao Yuqing had woven for her. Inside was a plump rabbit, lying there with herbal medicine applied to its leg. This was the rabbit Zhao Guoqing had caught that morning. Seeing its round belly, he guessed it was probably about to give birth to baby rabbits, so he left it for Zhao Dongxue to raise. The bamboo cage Zhao Yuqing made was very large, and inside was the fresh wild grass Zhao Dongxue and Dongmei had put in. All the adults had gone out, and only you were at home. Now a piece of this meat is missing. If it wasn't you, then who stole and ate it? At such a young age and not learning any good, and you've even learned to talk back to me. Old Madame Mei favors boys over girls. She treasures her grandsons, but treats her granddaughters like grass. She would either beat or scold her daughters-in-law, and she was even harsher toward her granddaughters. She insisted that they had stolen and eaten the bone, cursing non-stop, while the 2 children could only cry. Lu Zhenfang stood to the side, trying to persuade old Madame Mei. Could it be that she miscounted this morning? How could I have miscounted? I counted 3 times. You good for nothing. What kind of thing did you give birth to, and you dare talk back to me? One son is as stubborn as a bull and can't tell right from wrong, and one daughter steals. These words made Lu Zhenfang's eyes turn red. Before she could argue, she saw Zhao Guoqing with a face full of anger. What are you saying? I bought those meaty bones myself, and there were only that few to begin with. What's the big deal between 8 pieces and 9 pieces? If you can't stand us, then split up the family sooner rather than later. Don't make veiled accusations. Whose daughter is a thief? At your age, how can you speak so carelessly? Zhao Guoqing glared angrily at old Madame Mei. This grandmother of his was overbearing, favored boys over girls, and was biased. In his previous life, after he married Chen Furong, the two of them quarreled endlessly every day, and old Madame Mei suppressed this granddaughter-in-law at every turn, always trying to discipline her. She even egged Zhao Guoqing on to hit women. She was simply a troublemaker who disrupted the household. People say one woman can ruin 3 generations, and that was absolutely true. Zhao Guoqing felt that old Madame Mei had ruined several generations. She was always encouraging her sons to beat their wives, and never once restrained her own sons. With her around, if the family doesn't split up, this household will never get better. She stirs up trouble all day long, and only knows how to make life hard for the family. Their stomachs aren't even full, yet they still quarrel every day. You little brat, since when is it your place to speak in this family? Zhao Guoqing, are you dead as a father? If you don't discipline and deal with this son of yours, he'll be completely out of control. Zhao Guoqing. Old Madame Mei had found Zhao Guoqing an eyesore these past 2 days. Such a fine marriage arrangement, and he actually didn't want it? Chen Furong earned 28 yuan a month, and now he even dared bring up splitting up the family to her? If he isn't dealt with, he'll forget his own surname. The moment old Madame Mei called for her son Zhao Guoqing, Zhao Guoqing's father Zhao Guoqing immediately answered. Hearing his mother old Madame Mei's words, he cursed that little brat and casually grabbed the bamboo broom from under the eaves. That kind of bamboo broom was over a meter long, covered in thin bamboo twigs. It really hurt when it struck the body. Back then, in the countryside, beating children was an everyday occurrence. There was even a saying that when it rained, idle hands had nothing to do. So if there was nothing else to do, you might as well beat the children. Zhao Guoqing's family had many brothers and sisters and lived in extremely cramped quarters. When the whole family stayed together on rainy days, it felt unbearably stifling. So at times like that, Zhao Guoqing would beat the children. He would go straight for the bamboo broom. A father beating his son was considered perfectly natural. In the village, it was nothing strange to see old men in their 70s or 80s chasing after and beating their sons in their 50s or 60s. But this time, before Zhao Guoqing's broom could strike Zhao Guoqing, he reached out and caught the bamboo broom. Zhao Guoqing froze for a moment, as if only now realizing that his son Zhao Guoqing was already half a head taller than him. He must have been about 1.78 meters tall. Dad, can you clear your head a little? Grandma is old and muddle-headed. You haven't been drinking today, so why is your head muddled too? Grandma tells you to beat the children, and you do it without asking right from wrong. If she told you to kill someone, would you do it? Look at you, calling yourself a father. The family has 2 side rooms that are about to collapse, and the whole family can't even get a full meal, yet you keep hitting people at the drop of a hat? You are unworthy of being a father. Zhao Guoqing glared angrily at Zhao Guoqing. This was his father, so uneducated that he wouldn't know a straight line even if a carrying pole fell over, yet he obeyed his parents in everything and, after marrying a wife, didn't know how to cherish her. And after having children, all he knew was that filial sons came from under the rod. At the slightest thing, out came the broom. In his previous life, he had always resisted this father, and had finally managed to break free from the influence of this original family, leave this home, and build a career for himself. But his mother and younger brother were often beaten and cursed by him, so that his hard-working and kind mother lived a bitter life. And his younger brother was affected too. He didn't study much either, and he also drank and beat his wife and children. In the end, his younger brother's wife ran away, and the child became a motherless kid. He also didn't study much before going out to do migrant work. And later on, not only could he not find a wife, he couldn't even support himself. People say a good woman prospers 3 generations. But in his family, one bad woman ruined 3 generations, and a head of household even more so. And this person just happened to be his father. He couldn't just throw him away, so he could only think of ways to reform him. If reform really failed, Zhao Guoqing planned to make him suffer a bit. What? Your wings have hardened, and you dare lecture your old man? You little bastard, just see if I don't beat you to death. Zhao Guoqing was startled. The things his son said sounded especially harsh to his ears, and it made him feel that his authority as a father was being challenged. He immediately wanted to snatch back the bamboo broom and give Zhao Guoqing a vicious beating. If a son doesn't listen, one beating will fix it. But Zhao Guoqing was shocked to discover that he simply couldn't yank the bamboo broom free. No matter how hard he tried, Zhao Guoqing held it in a death grip, and he couldn't wrest it away at all. This was awkward. Had a father become weaker than his son? After freezing for a moment, Zhao Guoqing flew into a rage out of embarrassment and shouted at Zhao Guoqing to let go, only to find a trace of mockery at the corner of his son's mouth. Let go so you can throw your weight around and hit people? I'm not as stupid as you, believing whatever others say. You let go. If you don't blame me when you suffer later. At this moment, Zhao Guoqing no longer feared Zhao Guoqing the way he had in his previous life. Having lived a second life, he naturally understood long ago. People like Zhao Guoqing bully the weak and fear the strong. The more you fear him, the more he likes to throw around his authority as a father. It's better to resist directly instead. Though simple and rough, it works. You little bastard, how dare you talk back to your old man? If I'd known you'd turn out like this, I should have drowned you in the piss bucket when you were born. At this moment, Zhao Guoqing realized that this son had grown up and become strong. And if he really went head-to-head with him, he truly couldn't beat him. So now he could only rely on the fact that he was his father and curse Zhao Guoqing viciously. The more he cursed, the uglier it got, until even Zhao Guoqing couldn't bear to listen anymore. He exerted force and yanked the broom in his hand toward his chest, catching Zhao Guoqing off guard and throwing off his balance. Unable to keep hold of the broom in his hands, Zhao Guoqing was sent crashing to the ground in an instant. When he hit the ground, he was completely dumbfounded. Old Madame Mei, who had been watching the commotion over here the whole time, saw Zhao Guoqing come out worse for wear, and became even more relentless, shouting loudly, "Zhao Fu, Zhao Shun, you two hurry and help old second. This unfilial little beast, the son is hitting his father." Old Madame Mei was also taken aback. All along, she had gotten whatever she wanted at home, and the reason was simple. Whenever that daughter-in-law was disobedient, she would have her son teach her a lesson. It was the same with the daughter-in-law, and the same with the grandson. It was just that the grandson was, after all, more precious than the daughter-in-law. So the Zhao family's grandson was beaten less often. It was mostly the daughter-in-law and granddaughter who got beaten. This was also the first time she had seen her own grandson beat up her son. Although Zhao Guoqing had fallen on his own, she insisted on making a big deal out of it. Even if she saw it with her own eyes, she would always put herself on the moral high ground. In any case, she was always right, and everyone else was wrong. A person like that, unreasonable and selfish, yet afraid of outsiders accusing her of being unreasonable and a troublemaker. In his previous life, Zhao Guoqing had thoroughly figured out the old lady's personality. So the moment old lady Mei shouted, he glared at the old lady, even raising the bamboo broom in his hand a little, pretending as if he was going to hit her. Go ahead, shout. Say your grandson is beating your son. Your grandson is beating you. Let people judge who's right. I bought those pork bones, and you insist on falsely accusing my little sister of being a thief, yet you have no evidence. I bought them, so even if I gave all of it to my little sister to eat, that would still be only right. Go on, shout, shout. Let the whole village come and see how you run this household. What old lady Mei was usually most proud of was being able to manage the family. Her sons and daughters-in-law all obeyed her. And she had all three daughters-in-law firmly under her thumb. Not one of them dared talk back to her. Her word was law. If it really went as Zhao Guoqing said, and the whole village found out that in her family her son beat his father, and her grandson beat her too, she had been domineering all her life. If people laughed at her in her old age, wouldn't she be humiliated to death? No, no. Even if she had suffered a loss, once the door was shut, she absolutely could not let the people in the village know. You little brat, what are you trying to do? Old Lady Mei came to her senses at this moment and saw people peeking in at the doorway, so she quickly glared at her stunned son Zhao Guoqing and shouted toward the outside. Haven't you ever seen a father disciplining his son when the son won't listen? As she said this, she moved to shut the courtyard gate. A neighbor outside laughed and, as he left, tossed out a remark. He really does need a lesson. Such a good wife, and you still don't want her. This child doesn't understand things. The adults need to keep him in line. The villagers next door thought the Zhao family was talking about what happened to Qin Furong today. Who would have thought that Zhao Guoqing was resisting his father? The courtyard gate was shut, and then Zhao Guoqing did something that made both his father and grandmother stare with wide eyes. Zhao Guoqing directly brought out the big pot full of stewed meaty bones and pumpkin. Then, under old lady Mei's astonished gaze, he took 4 large bowls and filled each one to the brim with pumpkin, then placed 2 meaty bones on top. 4 bowls, 8 meaty bones, all piled on the bowls. Dongmei, Dongxue, you've been wronged. Eat the meaty bones your second brother bought. Mom, you have a bowl too. I'll split the last bowl with my younger brother. I bought it. So why shouldn't my mom and my younger brother and sisters be allowed to eat it? It was a big pot of pumpkin and pork bones. There were only 8 meaty bones. Almost all the rest was pumpkin. But even so, the pumpkin soup cooked with those meaty bones was fragrant. It was far better than the corn mush they usually ate every day. Zhao Dongxue and Zhao Dongmei were both stunned. The two little girls looked at each other, not daring to move. But those meaty bones smelled so good. This made the two thin, sallow-faced little girls keep swallowing their saliva. They secretly looked at old Lady Mei, not daring to move. Zhao Guoqing put 2 big bowls of meaty bone and pumpkin soup into the two little girls' hands, making them eat it in front of him. Old Lady Mei was trembling with anger. She wanted to call her son, but saw Zhao Guo looking at Zhao Guoqing with some fear, while her third son, Zhao Quan, looked at his daughter Zhao Dongmei with eyes full of affection. Furious, she opened her mouth and cursed. 2 worthless girls, and you're eating something this good too. Eating meat? Sooner or later you'll belong to someone else's family. Aren't you a woman yourself? Women hold up half the sky too. The moment Zhao Guoqing opened his mouth, it was enough to make old Madame Mei furious to death. Yet at this moment Zhao Guo didn't dare say anything to his son, who was even taller than himself. At this moment, the third son and the eldest son both pretended not to see anything. By the time this big pot of pumpkin cooked with meaty bones was brought to the table, only the pumpkin was left. Not a single meaty bone was left. Zhao Guoqing had given the meaty bones to his mother and younger brothers and sisters to eat. There were 8 pieces, and he didn't leave a single one for old Madame Mei and the others. When old Madame Mei ate, her face stayed dark the whole time. Zhao Guo was unhappy too, finding fault with everything he saw. Only Zhao Quan at the side felt that today's pumpkin soup truly deserved to have been simmered with meaty bones. It really smells wonderful. Mom, later let's go buy a pound of meaty bones too. Soup simmered like this is really fragrant. Zhao Fu also thought the pumpkin soup was especially delicious. Even after eating a big bowl, he still felt somewhat unsatisfied. Eat, eat, eat. You think about good food all day long. Money, huh? Where is the money supposed to come from? Every last one of you is useless. Usually old Madame Mei couldn't bear to scold her eldest son Zhao Fu. But today Zhao Guoqing had worked her up until she was holding in a breath of anger. Now that Zhao Fu had walked right into the line of fire, she naturally seized the chance to give him a thorough scolding. Though while she scolded him, she kept staring at Zhao Guoqing. Who would have thought Zhao Guoqing would narrow his eyes and glare at old Madame Mei with an unconvinced look, making old Madame Zhao so angry she nearly rolled her eyes. But this brat's wings had hardened. Even his father couldn't beat him. If he really got enraged and caused a scene at home, the ones watching the joke would still be the villagers. Sigh, forget it, forget it. Better swallow this anger for now. Lu Zhenfeng and Zhao Dongxue and the others lowered their heads and quickly drank their corn mush without a word, only feeling that at last their stomachs had the satisfying fullness of being fed. So comfortable. Guoqing has really grown up. That's wonderful. He knows how to care for her, his mother, and care for his younger brothers and sisters. There's hope for this life now. After the meal, Zhao Guoqing noticed that his younger brothers and sisters had become much more affectionate toward him, unlike in his previous life, when because he married Chen Furong, they harbored some resentment toward him, and the siblings were not that close. Brother, look, I caught some eels and some loaches. We can take them out tonight and roast them to eat. After Zhao Yuqing ate 2 meaty bones, he became much closer to Zhao Guoqing. Remembering what Zhao Guoqing had said, he quietly told his elder brother now that he had found time to catch some loaches and eels. In the past, they had always secretly roasted these things and eaten them. Anyway, there was never enough to eat at home, so they could only find ways to get something to eat outside. Otherwise, their stomachs felt as if cats were clawing inside them all day long. They were hungry. I still have a bit of mantou and youtiao there. You and little sister take those fish to that place on the back hill and bring the pots and bowls. Wait for me a bit later, and I'll make you something good to eat. The place Zhao Guoqing was talking about was actually where they had once fired an earth kiln before, with a small river at the entrance. Usually the villagers rarely went over there. Sometimes when the brothers were starving badly, they would roast some bird eggs there or make some wild vegetable mush to eat. There was no helping it. Relying on that little bit of corn mush at home, none of the Zhao brothers could eat their fill. This was a secret shared by just the 2 brothers. Zhao Yuqing readily agreed with an excited cry, grinning from ear to ear. He was 3 years younger than Zhao Guoqing and was 16 this year. But his height was only a little over 1.6 meters, and he looked thin and scrawny, without the slightest bit of vitality. Compared with the handsome and tall Zhao Guoqing, he simply didn't look like he was born of the same mother. That afternoon, when Zhao Guoqing went to work, Annie Wang, the neighbor next door, kindly tried to persuade him, saying he was being foolish not to marry such a good wife as Chen Furong. When the elders in his family say a few words, he should just listen properly and not make trouble along with the family, and so on. Zhao Guoqing just smiled and said nothing. People could misunderstand however they liked. He had no intention of explaining. Living his own life well, taking good care of his family, making sure they had enough to eat and warm clothes to wear, and finding a way to split the household and build a new house. Those were the most important things. Otherwise, when the heavy snowstorm came, his younger sister Dongxue would be in danger. He also had to find a way to arrange a good future for his younger brother, or else he would be ruined by old Madame Mei and their father for the rest of his life. So after work, Zhao Guoqing hurried into the mountains. This time, his target was Ermiai Mountain. He walked quickly, wanting to find as soon as possible the place he had heard people mention in his previous life, where Zhusun mushrooms grew. Zhusun mushrooms have a refreshing taste. In ancient times, they were even presented as tribute and were regarded as a mountain delicacy. It was also said that a few years ago they were served at state banquets to entertain foreign dignitaries. Although this mountain delicacy was expensive, it was relatively rare because of the climate and environment. But he knew that over on Ermiai Mountain, there were many areas of wild bamboo forest, and it was very likely that the Zhusun mushrooms had been discovered there. This thing fetched a pretty good price. He had to hurry and look for them every day, dry them, and sell them as dried goods. Then there was the wild gastrodia. Once you found this thing, it usually came in clumps. Although the price was not especially good, it yielded quite a lot. The key was that across the mountains and plains, you had to find the right spot. Otherwise, even if you ran your legs off, you still would not get these two good things. Having a direction saved Zhao Guoqing a lot of time. With a machete in his hand and a basket on his back, he moved quickly and soon saw a bamboo grove and hurried into it. There were no Zhusun mushrooms. Zhao Guoqing was not disappointed either. If this thing were that easy to find, it would not be his turn, and it would not sell for such a high price. So he was not discouraged at all, and continued searching through the wild bamboo groves at the foot of Ermiai Mountain. After searching 2 more bamboo groves in a row, Zhao Guoqing finally saw a Zhusun mushroom, and immediately afterward, he discovered something incredible. Zhusun mushrooms always grew in patches. As long as you found one, you could find a whole large patch. Moreover, Zhao Guoqing discovered that this wild bamboo grove, though it looked sparse, was hidden in a small hollow at the foot of Ermiai Mountain. If he had not searched through the bamboo groves one by one himself, it would have been easy to overlook it. Because if you went just a little farther from this bamboo grove, it was blocked by the mountain and rocks, and you would never think that there would be a large patch of bamboo here, with so many Zhusun mushrooms. No wonder someone in his previous life had been able to find a large patch of Zhusun mushrooms around Ermiai Mountain. Most likely no one had picked this patch of bamboo grove, and then there gradually came to be more and more of them. When Zhao Guoqing picked these Zhusun mushrooms, he left the slightly smaller ones behind. He specifically picked the larger ones. Even so, the number of Zhusun mushrooms in this patch far exceeded his imagination. There were simply too many. Keeping his head down, he picked all the larger Zhusun mushrooms clean out of this patch of bamboo grove, and his basket was almost full. Then Zhao Guoqing cautiously covered the top with some wild scallions and lamb's quarters. That way, even if someone saw him, he could say he had gone into the mountains to dig some wild vegetables. In any case, he would not tell anyone about this wild bamboo grove. There was also a proper time for picking Zhusun mushrooms, from May to September each year. After that season passed, these things would wither. But having found such a large place, if he kept it secret, dried these things, and quietly sent them over to Zhao Laoda's place, it could temporarily ease his current predicament. On the way back, Zhao Guoqing kept noting the locations of wild gastrodia on the mountain. At this time, the gastrodia could not yet be harvested. It would put out some flower stalks and leaves. As long as he spotted it, he would memorize the location. Then he would dig up some gastrodia and find a good spot to selectively plant it. Because once gastrodia was found, it usually grew in clusters and could reproduce on its own. What he had to do was find those wild gastrodia and look for places in the wild for them to propagate, so that by late autumn, he could harvest large swathes of wild gastrodia. Zhao Guoqing was different from others. If other people found bamboo fungus and gastrodia, they would probably harvest everything in one go. But he selectively left some for seed, allowing them to grow sustainably. Even though Zhao Guoqing picked up the pace, by the time he went down the mountain to meet up with his younger brother, it was almost dark. There were several figures peering out constantly at the entrance of the cave dwelling. It was Zhao Guoqing, Dong Xue, and Dong Mei. When they saw their elder brother, they were so happy they nearly jumped up. "Brother, where did you go? We were worried sick. We couldn't even bear to eat the steamed buns," and Youtiao. Zhao Guoqing hurriedly handed Zhao Guoqing something to eat. Zhao Guoqing took a bite of the steamed bun. He was so starving he almost choked. But when he saw that the eel and loaches his younger brother had prepared were all there, he quickly called everyone over, planning to make something to eat. Zhao Guoqing pulled out a battered iron pot from behind him, chipped at one edge. Even this thing was a treasure, and he had secretly taken it from home. Even without oil, Zhao Guoqing wasn't stumped. He directly used the fish oil from one fish's belly to grease the pot. Then he pan-fried the loaches and eels until both sides were golden before starting to boil them in water. Zhao Guoqing was actually particular when cooking fish. After adding the water, if it didn't come to a boil, he would not touch the eels, so there would be no fishy smell. Then he simmered it slowly over low heat, letting the broth grow thicker and richer. When it was ready to come off the heat, he added some salt and sprinkled in a handful of wild scallions, a handful of wild celery, and some patchouli leaves, all of which could be found in the mountains. A pot of milky white fish soup was ready. Zhao Guoqing tossed the youtiao into it, and the surface of the soup was instantly covered with shimmering oil. Simple as it was, the aroma was everywhere, making Zhao Guoqing keep shouting that he was starving, truly starving. But before they had even started eating, they heard footsteps approaching. Looking up, they saw Xia Rulin holding a large bundle of wild scallions in her arms, staring at them in surprise. Zhao Guoqing again. And it seemed there were also his younger brother and sisters, a whole group of people, gathered around a big pot of fragrant fish soup, with a pile of white flour steamed buns beside it. "Oh, educated youth Xia, come, have some with us. There are plenty of steamed buns." Zhao Guoqing didn't think much of it, and called out as soon as he saw Xia Rulin. After all, he had eaten so much white rice at her place yesterday. Since they happened to meet today, it was only right to invite her for some fish soup. "No, Yuqing is at home, and it's getting dark. I need to head back early. You all eat. I'll just wash these scallions. The fish soup smells so good." But Xia Rulin looked at the sallow and skinny Zhao siblings, all of them swallowing hard as they stared at the white flour steamed buns. It seemed that this meal of steamed buns was definitely something special for the Zhao siblings. So Xia Rulin politely declined. After all, her family often sent her grain coupons and money, and she lived much more comfortably than the Zhao family. She couldn't take advantage of them. Xia Rulin's polite refusal made Zhao Guoqing pause in surprise. He hadn't expected that. But after saying that, she went off to wash the wild scallions. Zhao Guoqing felt a little embarrassed, but he quickly found an enamel cup. After first filling a jar with fish soup from the pot and taking 2 steamed buns, he called to his younger brothers and sisters to hurry up and eat. Climbing the mountain today had exhausted him too, and he ate several buns in a row, and had also fished out quite a few eels to eat, yet his stomach was only about 60% full. There was no helping it. Without any oily food, his appetite was astonishingly large. His younger brothers and sisters were much the same. But even so, they were incomparably satisfied, each wearing a smile as they chattered away, asking Big Brother when they could have another meal like this next time. "These past 2 days have been so happy. Every day we can secretly eat a little more. 3 days from now, here, I'll stew some meat for you. Educated youth Xia, when the time comes, you and educated youth Lu come too." Zhao Guoqing thought about it. It would take a day or 2 for these bamboo pith mushrooms to dry. 3 days was enough time for him to earn a little money to buy some meat and reward his younger brothers and sisters' bland, grease-starved stomachs. As he said this, he forcefully stuffed 2 white steamed buns and an enamel mug into Xia Rulin's hands. This action surprised Xia Rulin a little, and seeing them cooking food here, she thought for a moment. "How about this? 3 days from now, you come to where Yuqing and I live, and bring your younger brothers and sisters along. Cooking over there is more convenient than here no matter what. Your place here is just too crude." Xia Rulin almost wanted to say that this place looked like a beggar's camp. "All right then, we'll be troubling you when the time comes. Just wait for me, 3 days. I'll definitely let all of you have a meal of meat and white rice." Zhao Guoqing patted his little sister Zhao Dongxue on the head. His words made Xia Rulin, who was holding the fish soup, smile sweetly, but she didn't say much more and turned to leave. And just as she entered the room carrying the fish soup and green onions, she heard Lu Yuqing spring upright from the bed. "Oh my, what smell is that? It smells so good, unbelievably good." Lu Yuqing's gaze immediately fell on the enamel cup in Xia Rulin's hand. When I went to wash wild greens, I happened to run into brothers Zhao Guoqing making fish soup, and they gave me some. You should try some too. Xiao Rulin and Lu Yuqing were quite close. The two educated youths had been sent down to Choyang Brigade, living together and eating from the same pot, just like real sisters. Xiao Rulin wasn't the stingy type either, so she directly handed the enamel mug to her. It smells so good. Was it made by Zhao Guoqing again? Tell me, why is it that a man can make food this delicious? Better than either of us? Holding the enamel mug, Lu Yuqing first poured herself more than half a bowl of fish soup, then handed the rest to Xiao Rulin. After one sip, she kept praising how fragrant the fish soup was. It made Xiao Rulin laugh at her. We're just clumsy. Cooking takes talent too. Oh right, he wants to marry a female college student from the city, so you'd better work hard and get into university. Xiao Rulin teased Lu Yuqing, and Lu Yuqing refused to let it go and tried to tickle Xiao Rulin under the arms. The two burst into laughter together. Still, this fish soup really is deliciously fresh. Stop fooling around. Oh right, Zhao Guoqing said he'll treat us to a meat meal the day after tomorrow. I told him to come cook over here. I still have some grain coupons, and when the time comes I'll buy in exchange for some more rice. I haven't eaten meat in a long time. Amid their playfulness, Xiao Rulin brought up inviting Zhao Guoqing to come cook here. Lu Yuqing clapped her hands in delight and praised Xiao Rulin again and again. Yes, let him come cook for us. I also have some grain coupons over there, and I'll take some out then too. Lu Yuqing was so happy she was practically clapping her hands. But when she turned her head and saw Xiao Rulin looking at her with a smiling, interested expression, her face turned red. Ahem, it's not what you're thinking. I'm just greedy for good food. What do you mean? What am I thinking? I'm not thinking anything at all. Xiao Rulin teased Lu Yuqing while suppressing her laughter, and the two girls started fooling around again, which drew attention from the male educated youths next door, quite a few of whom couldn't help but stop what they were doing and look over next door. Soon, one male educated youth named Wang Weidong, after stealthily taking some things, quietly went out, while several of the other male educated youths had complicated expressions on their faces. It wasn't just a day or two that Wang Weidong had liked the female educated youth next door, but these two female educated youths happened to be especially close, almost inseparable when eating and sleeping, so that even now, no one had figured out exactly which one Wang Weidong liked. In fact, there were quite a few male and female educated youths in Chaoyang Brigade. Although some had returned to the city after getting into college, there were still 9 of them. 5 male educated youths lived in one large courtyard, and the remaining 4 female educated youths were assigned to 2 smaller courtyards. They were right next to the male educated youths, so they could look after each other when something came up, and when there was nothing to do, everyone could close their courtyard gates and live their own lives. As for meals, up to now everyone cooked and ate for themselves. They had opened small vegetable gardens in front of and behind their houses, and things were fairly peaceful. When Wang Weidong knocked on the door, Lu Yuqing and Xiao Rulin inside were both stunned for a moment. It was already dark outside, and Xiao Rulin glanced at Lu Yuqing's foot and said she would go take a look. When she opened the door, she saw that it was Wang Weidong. This Wang Weidong looked to be about 23 or 24 years old. He was the senior member of their educated youth group, having arrived earlier than they had, and he had taken good care of them in many ways. So Xiao Rulin wasn't surprised. Comrade Lu Yuqing's leg is a bit better, isn't it? Oh, it's Brother Wang. Her foot is much better. Go in and have a look. Xiao Rulin answered, not closing the door, only leaving the courtyard gate ajar, then deliberately walking a little slower so that Wang Weidong could say a few words to Lu Yuqing. She merely stood by the doorway without going in. Wang Weidong nodded gratefully to her. It had to be said that although Xiao Rulin usually dressed rather casually, she was quite good at reading the room. Comrade Yuqing, your leg is injured. I have a few things here for you. You can have a taste of them while you're resting. From his pocket, Wang Weidong took out a small bag of white rabbit milk candies, and there seemed to be dozens of them. These milk candies were really good stuff. Even in the city, they weren't easy to buy, much less in Chaoyang Brigade. Ordinary families were reluctant to buy white rabbit milk candies, even for weddings. So taking out this candy to give someone was a very valuable gift. Wang Weidong looked at Lu Yuqing with burning eyes, calling her comrade, but that look made Lu Yuqing somewhat uncomfortable. Although she was craving sweets, she still politely declined. No, thank you. My leg is already fine. I can go work in the fields in a day or 2. I can't accept this candy. You should keep it for yourself. Rulin, help me see Brother Wang out. Calling for Rulin, Lu Yuqing looked like she was sending him away, making Wang Weidong's face grow hot. Then he saw Xia Rulin enter the room, and the courtyard gate was still open. It was already dark, and if they made a scene, it wouldn't look good. So in the end, Wang Weidong left with an awkward laugh. After returning, he lay on the bed tossing and turning, sighing deeply and repeatedly. He didn't sleep well all night. Over there, after Zhao Guoqing went back, he slept especially soundly that night. He used a ladder to put the bamboo fungus he had picked on the roof of the side room to dry, so he didn't have to worry about it being lost. With strong sun, it would be completely dried in 1 or 2 days, and it could also avoid drawing attention. Aside from his mother Lu Zhenfeng knowing about this, no one else noticed. After drinking corn mush for another day or two, Zhao Guoqing was getting a bit fed up with it. Fortunately, over the past 2 days, his animal trap would catch a rabbit or two or the occasional pheasant from time to time, and he would take them to the township before dawn. Then on the way back, he would buy a few youtiao, enough for his younger brothers, sisters, and mother to each have 1 or 2. As for his eldest uncle's family, Zhao Guoqing had noticed several times that they were secretly eating eggs at home. No wonder, his mother raised quite a few chickens, and it was said that old Madame May had collected all the eggs. Yet he had never seen her sell many of them. He figured his eldest uncle and aunt had secretly eaten most of them. As for whether old Madame May was turning a blind eye, he had no idea whether she really knew in her heart. Zhao Guoqing didn't bother with all that. Over the past 2 days, he had saved up 15 yuan from selling rabbits and pheasants, so he spoke to old Zhao in advance, wanting to get some grain coupons and meat coupons from him. They agreed that when he delivered the bamboo fungus today, he would trade for some grain coupons and meat coupons. In 1980, it was still a planned economy, but some better-off families, if they couldn't use up all their grain coupons and meat coupons, would secretly sell them for cash. Old Zhao could get hold of some. After all, for people like Zhao Guoqing and his family, even if they just wanted to eat meat for 1 meal, it wasn't enough to have money. They also needed coupons. Sometimes they even had to know someone at the supply and marketing cooperative, otherwise you couldn't even get some better fatty pork. After a large basket of bamboo fungus was dried, it didn't amount to very much. He packed it into a small cloth bag and put it at the back of the bamboo backpack basket, and inside the basket there was also a rabbit and a pheasant. Carrying these things, before dawn had even broken, Zhao Guoqing rode his bicycle toward Hongxing Commune full of hope. Zhao Guoqing rode fast, and by the time he reached Hongxing Commune, it was only just getting light. He looked around vigilantly, and only after making sure there was really no one nearby, did he quietly go and knock on Zhao Laoda's door. "You're here? No one followed you, right?" "Brother Zhao, don't worry, I was careful." Zhao Guoqing nodded. In those days, behavior like this was still considered speculation and profiteering. But people were really hungry, let alone eating meat. Even getting some rice to eat was no easy matter. To buy any scarce goods, you needed coupons. Take pork for example. It wasn't expensive, but you still needed meat coupons. And for a gene of pork, the better fatty cuts cost 1 yuan, while the poorer lean meat was about 0.9 yuan, and ordinary cuts were 0.95 yuan. But even this 1 yuan per gene, meat wasn't something just anyone could afford. After all, these days Zhao Guoqing's family drank corn porridge every day, and they couldn't bear to eat white rice. More than 10 gene of rice cost only about 1.5 yuan, and 10 gene of rice could feed the whole Zhao family for a month, when they used just a little at a time to cook porridge. But that was only enough to buy a little over 1 gene of pork. If you really ate your fill, a little over 1 gene of pork wouldn't even be enough for 1 meal, while those 10 gene of rice could make do for a month. Because money was hard to earn, and there were too few ways to make it. This time, the bamboo fungus Zhao Guoqing brought, though it had filled a whole backpack basket when he first gathered it, once it was dried, there was less than 5 gene left. At 3.5 yuan per gene, it exchanged for nearly 17 yuan. Fortunately, he had also brought a rabbit and a pheasant, and adding those 2 items together, he exchanged everything for grain coupons. A full 50 gene in grain coupons, 5 gene worth of pork coupons, plus a few kerosene coupons and white sugar coupons, and so on. There was still about 10 yuan left, and together with the little money he had already saved, he had about 30 yuan in total. Originally, Zhao Guoqing had also wanted to exchange for some cloth coupons to make some clothes for the family, but with so little money on hand now, he had to start preparing more food first. After all, if he really wanted to build a house, he would have to ask people to help with the work. In the countryside, when work is done, relatives, friends, and neighbors come to help, and you can pay them little or nothing, but you must provide white rice. You still need to get some meat somehow. Otherwise, you won't be able to get people to help. Nobody can build you a house on an empty stomach, right? So you need to save up more grain coupons and prepare more. Besides, the family has been eating so poorly that over time, not to mention malnutrition and all that, even he won't be able to bear it. He had to find a way to improve the family's life. So after getting the money and grain coupons, the first thing Zhao Guoqing did was go buy pork. He had come early, thinking about how those 2-cent-down youths had eaten so much rice last time. And now that he had made a bit of money from the bamboo fungus and selling the rabbit, he simply bought 3 jin of meat. He bought the good kind with both fat and lean, handed over the meat coupons, and also paid 3 yuan. Zhao Guoqing also saw pig lungs on the butcher's chopping block. They looked quite big, and he was told they didn't require coupons and cost 20 cents. Seeing that the pig lungs weighed 2 or 3 jin, he simply bought one. At least this counted as something meaty, and it would be good stewed with some pumpkin after bringing it home. After buying these things, Zhao Guoqing also bought 10 youtiao. 1 youtiao cost 8 cents, and they were a rare treat with some oil in them. These days, soaking some youtiao in sweetened water was already the best food a family could offer. Probably only when a wife was in her confinement period after childbirth would they be willing to let her have a couple of bites. That was on the condition that the husband's family was generous and willing to treat the wife well. Otherwise, she wouldn't get to taste either sweetened water or youtiao. After Zhao Guoqing got home, he quietly slipped some youtiao to his younger brothers and sisters and his mother. The family lacked anything oily or rich. He handed the pig heart and lungs to his mother. When Lu Zhenfang saw such a big piece of pig heart and lungs, she smiled, delighted beyond measure. Oh my, the family had just dug up some potatoes. So they could stew this at noon, and it was sure to be delicious. In a bit, she'd ask his grandma and let them have a meal of solid food at noon. In this household, whether they ate solid food or corn gruel still depended on old Madame May nodding her approval. Mom, you really should find a way to split up the family. Living like this, whether you get to eat solid food or thin gruel depends on that old lady's approval. Isn't that stifling? Zhao Guoqing frowned. If this family really split up, then if they didn't, his mother would be the one suffering the most. She did the most work, yet she was the one who endured the most grievances and hardship. Well, your father isn't willing, and our family has so many children. We've never had enough grain to eat, and I'm afraid you children will go hungry. Lu Zhenfang let out a sigh. In truth, she also wanted to split up the family. But although splitting up the family sounded easy, for one thing Zhao Guoqing wasn't willing, and neither were old Madame May and the others. For another, there were few people in their family earning work points, but many children. And every year the grain they were allotted was not really enough to eat. If they didn't split up, she could work a bit harder, and at least the children would still have corn gruel to drink. But if they split up, it was possible even the youngest child would starve to death. In those earlier years, whose family hadn't had someone starve to death. If the whole family stayed together, then even if they only had corn gruel every day, at least the children would have something to eat and wouldn't starve to death. Mom, don't worry. Life will get more and more hopeful, and things will get better and better. We'll split up the family, and later we'll live in a big house too. Lu Zhenfang didn't believe any of what Zhao Guoqing said. This son was as stubborn as an ox and not a bit reassuring. Besides, if he kept talking, she would start complaining again, saying what a good girl she was. Why was Zhao Guoqing so determined to refuse no matter what? As soon as that was brought up, Zhao Guoqing hurriedly hid away, unwilling to listen any further. Maybe because of the pig heart and lungs. Old Madame May finally agreed to let them eat a meal of solid food at noon, though it wasn't pure white rice, but bean rice. It was rice mixed with quite a lot of mung beans, peas, and the like. There was very little rice, just one meal of bean rice, but it was already much better than corn gruel. Lu Zhenfang was deft with her hands and pulled out all the white sinews from the pig heart and lungs. Then she rinsed the heart and lungs, stir-fried them in the pot with a piece of ginger, and then added potatoes to stew. Although the heart and lungs would eventually float to the top, it was meat after all, and the aroma instantly spread out. Not only Zhao Guoqing's family, but even people far away next door could smell the fragrance. Quite a few people poked their heads out to look around, and discovered that the aroma was drifting out from Lu Zhenfang's home. Someone asked Lu Zhenfang enviously as she went to the river to wash clothes. Did you stew meat at home today? It smells so good. What kind of meat is it? My Guoqing got up early and bought a set of pig heart and lungs, and cooked some potatoes. Pig heart and lungs, huh? That stuff is actually pretty tasty, full of flavor. Even if it's pig heart and lungs, it doesn't count as proper pork. But even so, saying it out loud still made people extremely envious. Only when Lu Zhenfang finished washing the clothes and went home, planning to check whether the pig heart and lungs were done, did she freeze for a moment as soon as she opened the pot. What had originally been a full pot of potatoes and pig heart and lungs was now missing nearly a third of the pig heart and lungs, and quite a lot of the potatoes too. Her gaze turned toward the main house, and she let out a sigh without saying a word. But when it was time to eat, old Madame May started making trouble again.